I've been talking about apocalyptic scenarios where an infection takes over your body and mutates it enough to become a murderous, grotesque figure by the thousands, and some warping your mind through torture and or control. But something tells me they just weren't violent enough. Whether it's fighting the undead or abominations from beyond the stars, we consistently find multiple universes where we are effed in the A. But one video game franchise that goes above and beyond royally wrecking humans, well, you people are sick, depraved, and honestly, pretty metal for this next one. I left this episode up to another vote, and it was a close one. Dead Rising was a contender, but Doom won by a light margin. So this week, we are doing the hellish, gory 1990s Christian-scorned, satanic, chop-till-you-drop, gun-till-you-got the runs, and anger so large that it literally makes hell freeze over with hate, with their own blood, mind you, hell on earth itself. Today, we discuss why you wouldn't survive the Doom Hell invasion. With the game series all about carnage, lead to the head, and overall just insane levels of brutality, a lot of people would assume there is little to no lore to back up this hellish nightmare. But there has to be explanations behind literal hell being unleashed to our realm of existence. But making a story happen on a game released in 1993 was a bit harder than the almost movie-like gameplay we have these days. Looking at you, 80% of PlayStation exclusives. I will go ahead and throw out there that I'll start these videos off with some lore before getting into the whole why you wouldn't survive shtick. Now, since we have the ever-prevalent notion of separate universes due to numerous different companies and development teams revamping and rebooting the franchise, the canon set forth on the franchise is a bit of a jumbled mess. So I'll be going with what correlated best with the 2016 reboot published by Bethesda. I will be axing Doom 3 for a few reasons. Things were more about a slow-paced gameplay by relying on dark environments with a flashlight and jump scares. Not to say Doom 2016 didn't do that at times. Jesus! You die now. You die. Little bitch. Instead of a high-octane and fast-paced killing spree, putting characters through psychological torment, mutating people beyond basic zombies into nightmarish creatures, the Sabaoth, and turning into a backstory of ancient alien races that died out centuries ago after they discovered this race-destroying epidemic, and then closing it away until humans discovered it. I've already done this with Halo, Dead Space, and eventually I'm going to be getting into Mass Effect. I can only do the subject matter of ancient alien races that humans discovered their technology so many times before feeling redundant, and I won't be doing Doom 3's lore because that's what inspired that awful, cheesy movie Doom feature film starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm sure that's the only thing that gives Doom guy PTSD. The Rock with poorly done CGI. Anyways, if you're a fan of Doom 3, we ain't doing it. The original Doom had a human civilization advanced enough where we partially colonized Mars and its surrounding moons, and that we had scientists and Marines stationed there to perform international security and experimentation. Did somebody say Space Force? Through the multi-planet conglomerate and military contractor known as the UAC, or Union Aerospace Corporation, interdimensional travel had been dabbled in for an untold amount of time. During one of these experimental developments on the nearby moon/asteroids Deimos and Phobos, sorry if I mispronounced those, a literal gate to hell had been opened, unleashing legions of satanic beasts into their base of operations. Within the span of 24 hours, over thousands of personnel were confirmed dead, and from that large percentage were reanimated as shambling, possessed corpses. Yep, this scenario will of course have the standard zombie, but these instances don't mutate horribly or add to an overall disgusting beast, but most will retain knowledge on how to operate weaponry and armor. However, the big guys are current residents of hell. Of course, this is also through the eyes, or more so helmet, of the man known as Doom Guy, an extremely battle-hardened and combat-trained Marine that was placed in a Mars prison after assaulting his superior, who was commanding the execution of nearby civilians. Doom Guy cares about the people. Doom Guy 2020. The UAC sends Doom Guy to the nearby moon Phobos, where one of their installations was relaying numerous stress signals, fighting his way through the demon-infested hellscape to go through a portal to Mars's other moon Deimos, where more demonic forces constructed their own Tower of Babel. It was here that he took down the Cyber Demon, which was officially described as a missile-launching skyscraper with goat legs. Doom Guy then takes his first murderous vacation into the pits of hell, killing everything in sight, including the Spider Demon that will become the biggest thorn in his inside, he finds a doorway and emerges on a grassy field on Earth. However, the divide here is that some people say the guy from Doom 1 and Doom 2 are separate individuals, and the fact that Doom Guy at the start of Doom 2 is the sole survivor still remaining on Mars leaves a lot of plot holes that the original dev team, I'm sure, didn't intend to create. They just wanted to make a game where you shoot shit. Regardless, Doom Guy makes it back to Earth expecting some peace and quiet, but shortly discovers that hell was there long before he was. Major cities around the world are quickly descending into chaos and destruction, forcing numerous world leaders to evacuate survivors to gigantic spacecraft to escape the dying planet. However, Hell's forces have these spacecraft walled off by impenetrable force fields guarded by even more satanic beings. Huge portions of military forces attempt to disable the field, but are wiped out, leaving only Doom Guy to fight them off all once again. Killing off the demon defenses and disabling the force field, the remains of the human race are able to flee the planet. Doom Guy decides to sit back and continue the fight until he meets his end. However, intelligence agencies discover the main portal to hell that originated the Earth outbreak is in Doom Guy's hometown, ironically enough. He returns to his roots much like Wolfenstein 2 and fights where he grew up to find himself diving into hell to permanently close the portal. Fighting every kind of beast hell has to offer, Doom Guy tackles the icon of sin, the pillar of hell basically. Doom Guy, being the badass that he is, rips the demigod a new one, and the icon's death leads to the landscape of hell to be destroyed. The portal between Earth and hell closes forever. This next part comes from the Doom Wiki. While there, an entity known as the Wretch supplies him with the Praetor suit to better survive in hell with inhuman powers. He joins forces with a group called the Sentinels, who exist to fight the demons but lost their fight long ago. As time may flow differently in this dimension, the Doomslayer torments hell for thousands of years. The demons, unable to defeat him, devise a way to contain him. He is captured by the forces of hell and trapped in a sarcophagus sealed by demonic power. The Sentinels are later all killed. He soon awakens in a whole new 3D HD world. Everyone's talking about new graphics these days. Apparently the UAC from a separate universe from his own covertly entered hell, delving in for energy resources, a separate reason from his universe as they were trying to harness portal transportation for fast travel, and recovered the sarcophagus that hell had been containing Doom Guy for who knows how long. Doom Guy eventually awakens to find the scenario he helped stop before had started all over again. This time around the motives of two high-ranking officials coming into play between UAC Mars director Dr. Samuel Hayden and Dr. Olivia Pierce, who both have their own goals for this new fixation on hell and its capabilities. Hayden claimed that opening a rift into hell was for the betterment of mankind, showing either extreme levels of power-hungry lust or the corruption that took place once the portals were opened. Either way, Doom Guy, looking at the dead civilian before him, knew that the Mad Doctor's sentiments were hollow and needed to be stopped at any cost, as long as the cost was every bad guy's life in the process. Pierce, on the other hand, was corrupted by an Argent artifact given to her by Hayden, slowly morphing her brilliant mind of biomechanical and genetic engineering background to become focused on studying the origins of Argent energy. It was the UAC's research that led to the discovery of Argent energy, a renewable, oh boy, here we go, a renewable energy that had unlimited potential into helping mankind solve its energy consumption problems, but with unintended evil side effects. It's like I've done this before. When humans discovered this energy in 2095, Olivia Pierce led the investigation into the portals. For some unknown reason, the residents of Hell allowed the excavation of Argent peacefully for a time, while Helena herself struck a deal with a demon lord. This was most likely because of the sheer damage brought on by Doom Guy before he slipped into a slumber. Imagine being such a badass that even Satan won't touch you as you're hibernating in a sarcophagus.
Be you angels, and we said nay. We are but men, rock.
With her knowledge of scientific upgrades, considering her own body was 95% metal to free herself from being bound to a wheelchair, Pierce handed over enhancements to thousands of Hell's denizens, increasing their fighting capabilities, which explains why these millennia-old creatures have fancy new weapons grafted on their arms. She learned of Hell's fear that the Doom Guy may awaken, so any information on his tomb was kept to herself, or so she thought. Fighting his way through the surface of Mars and nearby UAC facilities and satellite relays, Doom Guy discovers no survivors survivors escaped besides Hayden and Pierce and goes on a bloody rampage, all while preventing a catastrophic meltdown, destroying large amounts of Argent energy against Hayden's will, being sucked back into hell, learning Hayden discovered the purpose of Doomguy's tomb and used him as a backup plan in case things went to hell, literally. Gets sucked back to Mars by Pierce, who wants to prevent Doomguy from destroying hell again, goes and kills a big-ass cyber demon to rip an accumulator from his chest to get back to hell, taking down the Hell Guard who guarded the necropolis, retrieving a powerful ancient sword, the Crucible, going back to Mars only to destroy all Argent energy reserves in a processing plant to fling him back to hell one more time while disconnecting Mars and hell all at once. Whew, that's a lot to win through, but Jesus, this guy willingly goes back to hell 3 times. He faces off against the manipulated Pierce, who was transformed after realizing she was tricked by Satan into a mastermind. After defeating this brainy spider boy, girl, Doomguy transports back to Mars and is captured by Hayden, who wishes to keep Doomguy down while Hayden himself wields the Crucible in order to answer humanity's growing need of energy resources. Energy resources and overpopulation. We won't know any further information on what will occur, but it's safe to say it will be hell on Earth. How many times can I do this pun? Much like the original Doom 2, and since the E3 gameplay showed scenarios like that in full display for Doom Eternal. So hell is a very easily avoidable issue if we can just not value some energy or easy transportation over being mauled to death by demonic monsters. But once unleashed, there will be a quick and swift extermination of nearly all human life within a large radius. The amount of different demons that will emerge from these gates are the reason why humans will be overwhelmed so quickly. Much like what occurred in the scenario with Dead Space, high-ranking officials will become corrupted by the dark presence of these possessive forces and wish to either harness their fighting potential with the incentive of ultimate strength or blindly pushing for the infinite energy these horrid creatures provide at the cost of countless lives. While the intentions of the scientist in the original Doom game on the moons Phobos and Deimos were completely unknown, their blunder into unlocking a portal into hell was the reasoning for why things went to hell in a handbasket so fast for Doomguy's home universe. The intentions of Hayden and Pierce, however, were for pure power and somewhat unintentional greed. It's reasonable to assume we in our current state as a human race would either fumble into portal technologies enough to where Ian Malcolm would say,
"Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should."
And end up opening the chaos theory to welcome hell, and of course what any game or movie relies on to make any kind of story these days, corruption and greed that spirals out of the evildoer's control. Regardless, let's see what would happen if we either goofed and opened up a portal to hell on accident or opened one up for energy resources.
Where's my super
Shotgun?
Where is my super
Shotgun! As I've said before, within the first 24 hours of the demonic outbreak in the UAC facilities on Mars, over 90% of all personnel were declared dead, and of that portion, more than 60% had been converted into possessed infantry, adding to the numbers of Hell's forces. This time frame shows how rapid and violent their methods are, and how less they are about mental manipulation of the masses or biding their time. They get in there like that. No hesitation, no surrender. There would be little to no prep for these creatures as they grip through just about any defenses built up, considering gargantuan beasts like the Baron of Hell and Cyber Demon can easily soak in gunfire and explosives while ramming through weaponized vehicles and ripping infantry in half with ease. While most gunfire and resources will be zoned in on in these threads, there are still numerous other enemies that will kill you in a flash. As stated earlier, the majority of foot soldiers are possessed humans, decayed and morphed into either skeletal bitey cannon fodder, gun-wielding troopers, or even explosive kamikazes. The regular possessed will just shamble around, biting and swinging at victims in large numbers, while gunners will shoot down those who try to quell the numbers. Unlucky close-quarters humans will be inflamed by the explosion of the tank-infused engineers. These are just like any zombie apocalypse, if the zombies learned how to use guns effectively. It's the demonic forces that you want to worry about, since they can tear down walls, reach high safe places, and prohibit any means of escape, whether it be land, sea, or air. The imps can easily climb and adhere to any surface and whip fireballs at high velocities to their opponents. Lost souls will levitate above the uproaring gunfire and lock onto a target abrasively until they make contact and explode. The bright side is they are fairly weak to most kinds of damage, but are notorious for flanking and overwhelming while giving an ear-piercing screech. The Kako demon, if that's how you pronounce it, floats above with a huge gaping mouth, always on the hunt to eat its prey quickly. It can fire bile similar to Left 4 Dead's Boomer, but in a faster and more condensed and long-ranged manner to where it will nearly blind the victim and impair them for a short time, which would be long enough for the Kako demon to eat you nearly whole. Speaking of man-hungry dudes, the Mancubus is a glutton for anything. Their obese-like stature is due to the fact that they eat anything, even rotting flesh, which would account for their horrible smell that could hinder nearby soldiers. The bile excreted from their flesh is used to boost the potency of the flamethrowers attached to their arms, igniting nearby victims with ease, as they are gagging from the horrible smell. When killed, they will explode, covering everyone nearby in toxic guts and gaseous innards like the Boomer. And if things weren't bad enough, you still got the Spider Demon, the Hell Knight, all those big-ass enemies that could easily take a couple rounds from a tank. So basically, if you think you can take these guys on, well, good luck becoming a pancake covered in the syrup of your own blood. In the midst of all these infestations, they will mutilate corpses to perform rituals that improve the strength and presence of hell, creating gore nests that will continue this aura of evil. Hunting down and eliminating the nests as their core will simmer down the presence and spawning of the devil spawn. Yes, double pun there. But this will also call in nearby forces to close in on the now empty nest. So no matter how impressive you make your safe haven, no matter how high the walls are, the material that these walls are made of, or how well hidden you are, you will be sniffed out, hunted down, and executed in a brutal way that would have even Nathan Explosion impressed.
God, Bob, that's brutal.
Depending on whether the initial opening gate would open, would also factor in how civilization could react. If these gates were to open in a major city, it would cause immediate chaos as large portions of civilians would be possessed and local law enforcement being powerless to fight back. Military outposts would quickly deploy, but due to how fast the extreme severity of these hell beasts would spread, the armies would quickly be surrounded, depleting ammo and resources as they barely make a dent in the enemy numbers. It's the most reasonable to assume that countries with the most progress in technological development would dip their toes into portal transportation technology eventually. Of course, the US would seek to finish this technology first, but other powerhouses of tech like Japan, Russia, Germany, India, China, Israel, Singapore, and South Korea harbor highly populated landscapes. If a country like Japan, India, South Korea, or China, or even the US, were to be the first ones to accidentally open the portal to hell, their dense populace would be the worst case scenario. The bigger the number of an otherwise unexpected population, the greater the possession tally for hell's growing forces. And unlike normal people who fall after one or two shots, the possessed can take a little more impact as long as the head isn't hit first. There is some chance that current military could quell the forces, but with the relentlessness and capabilities of the hell invasion, the chances would be slim. I hate to default to this outcome each time, but napalm strikes, explosions, and nukes being launched in hive-like areas would be what would have to happen if the forces of hell haven't already found nuclear compounds and surrounded them with impenetrable shields to make us defenseless. I honestly did not believe anyone on this planet could survive the epidemic, let alone kill them off. No one can compare to the amount of strength, skill, agility, and overall just how metal incarnate that Doom guy is. And no, do not throw meme names out there at me. Chuck Norris ain't shit, and neither is John Cena. If you put Chuck Norris or his character Walker Texas Ranger in a room alone with a Hell Knight, no amount of low-budget TV karate would able to size up to this goat-legged red brutalizer. Do not give me that. The sheer godlike stature of Doom guy made him even a force against hell to be reckoned with. It has been noted that Doom guy can run upwards of 57 miles per hour without breaking a sweat, cannot be harmed from falling great heights, and has the ability to wield as many weapons as possible. Plus, having weaponry like the BFG 9000, which stands for Big Fucking Gun, that wiped out all evil presences in a wide area from existence, well, I don't know of any kind of weaponry that could do that without making you and your enemies going, "What the fuck?" Unless we can train Usain Bolt to double his speed, carry a crap ton of heavy weapons, and give him some badass armor, we may be SOL. So basically, yeah, we're screwed unless we have a Doom guy, which we don't. No, Chuck Norris, your time was in 2008. Go back to reruns. Face it, I didn't even think much of this video as a vote, but you guys wanted to see why you wouldn't survive, and I explained it as best as I could. That about wraps up this video. Did I miss anything? Was my knowledge on this subject off? Did I mispronounce anything or get a detail slightly off? Rate me in the comments. If you enjoy the analysis, like, comment, and sub, and ring that bell for updates. I'll be doing another one of these soon, so make sure to be looking at the community tab of my channel for the next poll, what should be covered next. Don't forget to donate to my Patreon to get shoutouts, big rolls on my Discord, and more. Shout out to my Patreon donators: Lovable Tester, Mario, NATO6141, Ricardo A. Ascension, Song of the Void, Castliv, Irene, Twilight Duck, Shilarby, Turtle Lords, Austin Langford, Maria Marone, DJ Cheatham, Kimberly, Skittish British, Super Amazing Hot Dog Batman, Taylor 07, Light Thunder, Artist of the Traveler, Ninja Kirby 935, Katya's Left Eyelash, Jimmy Fitzpatrick, Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up, Prince Sheep 1738, Exploding Burritos Experience, Bryce, Mama Fish, Revolver Boy, and Slothic Goth. Thank you for your generous donations to Wowsuch Gaming. Well, that's all that out of the way. Until next time, I'm Zack, aka Wowsuch Gaming. Stay well and don't forget to vote.
Why don't you try to play this? That's close.